Magic.
You are listening to Brain Bender, the podcast where we talk about magic without talking magic.
Brain Bender.
Welcome, my name is Christian and by my side as usual
is Dennis.
And today's topic is drugs.
Yes, and before we begin, I would like to say disclaimer that we don't in any shape or form propagate or making...
Are you actually making a disclaimer?
Yes.
What?
Well...
because we're talking about drugs?
Yes, and that I don't want to, if there are some young listeners out there, to try anything or...
Why not? Isn't that part of being a youngster that you embark into the psychedelic adventures? Maybe, I'm not saying that they should, I'm just wondering why the disclaimer, that's all.
Because, okay, the disclaimer are for American reasons. Because you could say like, oh, he listened to this podcast and then he went out and did this and it's their fault he did.
I can't believe, I mean, America has always pushed drugs since the 60s, like it's, you know, like it's popcorn candy, it has its own drug culture and everything.
Yeah, but freedom and responsibility, they haven't pushed, right? So the freedom to do something or the responsibility to make up your own choice about something always shift when shit goes bad. So then it's...
Shit can go bad when you do drugs. That's true. That's true.
Exactly. And then it shifts. It's like, oh, it wasn't my fault I stabbed all those people when I did LSD. It was this guy who told me that LSD is good.
So let's say it like this then. If you want to do drugs, we don't mind. But if you do drugs in the wrong way and you do something bad...
Your fault.
Yeah, your
has nothing to do with us.
No.
That's on you totally. If you are so fucked up in your head that you go out and do something very stupid when you're on drugs, that is your problem. We have nothing to do with that.
No. So, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the disclaimer.
Okay, all right.
Be responsible for your own actions.
As always, whether you're on drugs or not. I started my day today with a very mild stimulant. I think a lot of people did. And then I went to lunch, and after I had something to eat, I took some more drugs because it's always nice after a meal. And the drugs I'm talking about, I started my day with caffeine. And after the lunch, I had a cigarette.
Okay.
So nicotine.
So I started my day with the reverse order. I used nicotine, the first thing I did when I woke up. So it's snooze and then coffee. Oh, well, they kind of came simultaneously. Yeah.
And kids, if you want to do a drug, don't do nicotine. It's the most boring drug you can ever imagine. It will only make you suffer for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
It looks cool, we know, but it's fucking bad.
Yeah, it's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Although nicotine actually stimulates the brain connections.
True, you actually get a little bit smarter.
Yeah, and that's why you feel so extraordinarily stupid when you stop.
Yeah.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
Because you're going back to normal.
True.
So that is a little bit of a... Yeah. So all drugs have something that benefits humanity.
Yeah,
I think.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, all drugs.
And drugs are... A lot of people think, why do you have to do drugs? That's a question, you know, people who are against anybody taking drugs asks. And yeah, it's the weirdest question. Why do you think people take drugs? Because it's fun to take drugs.
Yeah, it's fun. It's informative. It changes your whole perspective of life and the universe that we're in. And there's many. But those same people do not see, when they say drugs, they only mean illegal drugs.
Yeah, that's true.
That the government doesn't control.
Yeah.
Or appears not to control.
I had this I found this a couple of years ago when I was doing research for a book about the drugs. And when you talk about with people who are into these anti-drug groups, lobby groups, or in the addict, the whole business around addiction, I have never met anyone in that business who doesn't smoke. They all seem to be pretty heavy smokers for some reasons.
And probably coffee drinkers.
Yeah.
And sugar addicts.
And wine.
Alcohol.
Probably a lot of lucky pills, to keep the anxiety away and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, we should probably address why the drug addiction is so prevalent in the Western world and in parts of the world that has a heavy Western influence or a Western economical system, we should probably say. I mean, I know China has a big drug problem.
Yeah, they're a lot into speed.
Yeah.
In whole Asia, I think speed is a big thing.
Yeah. If you work 14 hours a day, you're going to have to do some speed. So they have a big problem. It's the whole when people when they work with the whole system is just rigged for us to do drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do what you like every day and enjoy life, I think you won't be addicted to drugs in any shape or form. You might do them because to relax or have some fun or something, but that will be occasional. Like I'm an occasional smoker, occasional drinker, occasional marijuana user or whatever. But when you work at a shitty job, even though it might be well paid, and you're married to a shitty person and your kids are shitty and everybody around you are boring, you're going to do a lot of drugs, one way or the other.
Yeah. It's we are from Sweden up north, and it's one of the most prohibited countries in the world.
Yeah.
It's people, when you talk about people abroad about how Swedish drug laws works, they get kind of shocked because Sweden is perceived as this, social country where everybody's taken care of. But when it comes to drugs, we treat people pretty shitty.
Yeah.
For example, if the cops, they frequent music festivals and nightclubs, and if they see you dance in a particular way that seems like, well, I think this guy probably has something, they can take you aside and they can force you to leave a urine sample on the spot. It's not like they're going to take you away into this dark room. You have to actually pee in a cup with the cops standing in a ring around you to see if you have taken drugs. Pretty weird. That we have laws that let the police with guns and everything take little kids aside. Little kids, I'm talking about teenagers like 19, 20, and piss in a cup to see if they have taken any drugs.
Yeah, that is weird because if they're just dancing and not doing a crime, then why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you did a knife crime or you're driving during influence, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're not doing any, just walking down the street and you look funny, then they can stop you for that.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't know if it's the same. I mean, in America, I think that they can search you, and if you have something on you, you will get arrested for that. But in Sweden, it's if you have something in you, then you're arrested for that. It didn't used to be like this.
No, it started, I think, in the 80s, 90s or
90s,
something.
I think.
We had a rave scene that was popping, and it was growing kind of fast. And they said, we have to do something about this. We can't have people dancing, taking drugs and have a good time because we wanted to go to work every day. So they said, well, these people can't handle themselves. They don't know what to do. We have to save them. So in order to save them, we're going to have the right to have access to their body fluids. So a person's body fluids in Sweden can actually be criminal.
Yeah.
Can be a crime.
Can be a crime.
If you have the wrong set of molecules in your body.
Yeah, and if you use the wrong set of drugs, because there's no problem going out drinking every day. That is not a problem.
No.
If you don't get too drunk and start fighting or whatever. But if you're drunk every day, that is not a problem.
Yeah, and if you are drunk and you are so drunk that the cops say, we have to put you into the slammer over the night, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to get registered anyway. But if you do drugs, if you find that you have drugs in your system, you're going to have this in your criminal record. So when you search a job, the employer will say, you have a criminal record. So we have a lot of people in Sweden that did drugs on a music festival or something, maybe smoked up a little bit of pot, and then have been trying to get work for years on years on years, and they can't get a job. So we have drug laws in a way that put people outside of society. It's not something that benefits the individual in any way.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually, like, I tried it once and I'm fucked for life.
Yeah, true.
And without having the addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, but that will probably lead to addiction, because if you can't get a job, or, I mean, doesn't matter what you do. I mean, it's kind of funny because a couple of years in the late 80s, early 90s, we had this big surge in neo-Nazism. And these 3 guys went up to a union guy who was a communist and shot him.
Yeah.
They went to prison, but after prison, the guy applied to school and wanted to be a doctor. And there was no problem with that. No one had a problem with that until they found out that he lied. He cheated on something, and then it was a problem. The whole part that he murdered someone was not a problem. But if you smoke a joint, you're fucked.
You're fucked for life.
You're fucked for life. It's like murdering people, not so much.
He's a changed person now. He's done his time. But if you were caught with pot on you,
in you,
you are probably going to be regarded as untrustworthy for the rest of your life in Sweden.
Yeah, probably.
Very weird.
Very weird. And especially when you have like really, really boring jobs, like, I don't know, maintenance or, I mean, or stock, like when you work in a warehouse. When you work in a warehouse and put things on shelves or take things from shelves, and they say like, oh, you can't work there, you've been smoking marijuana. It's like, that should be a requisite to work there. You need to smoke marijuana. Because you're
going to invent a whole new system probably too, when you're going to put everything on the shelves. It's going to be your own system. It's going to be marvelous.
Exactly. I mean,
but the Swedish drug laws also comes with, some people have been using some ingenuity to not get arrested. I read about this case where a woman was searched by the cops and she had to leave a urine sample, and they found she had amphetamine in her system. And she said that it must have been her boyfriend's, not a boyfriend, a sexual acquaintance she had the other night where she drank this guy's piss.
Wow.
And she was actually freed in court.
Wow.
Because they couldn't prove, that it was... She didn't know he had taken amphetamine.
Yeah, okay. That's clever.
Yeah. So gobble piss if you want to.
Or you can at least say
you can at least say that you're a piss gobbler. It's going to be going to benefit you in your work life in Sweden. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But things are changing in Sweden, I think, in the attitude, and I think a lot of young people don't actually give a fuck anymore.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of especially we talk about high tech companies. They don't care if you have a record for drugs.
No, I don't think so.
They don't even care if you smoke on the workplace while you code.
Yeah, exactly. And in that industry, there's a lot of like microdosing LSD, magic mushrooms, so forth and so on. Yeah. So I don't think they cared. But then again, those people probably won't be arrested or checked by the police.
No, because they are probably not dancing weird
Exactly. So it's like
yeah, it's absolutely people from the poorer communities that get searched a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the cops always say it's very funny when they have this. We have a lot of reggae festivals in Sweden for some reason. Reggae is very big in Sweden. And the cops always say, well, this is one of the most laid-back festivals we've been to. No violent crimes, no rape whatsoever. But there seems to be a drug problem because we have over 30 people arrested for cannabis here.
Yeah.
So we have to do something about this big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, everything is relative.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's. I remember. We had this school parent-teaching conference, and they were talking about the bad things about drugs, and especially marijuana and hash.
Yeah.
And they said like, oh well, if your kids are listening to like reggae music, well, that's a big sign they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And the thing is, my mother went to this. Now my mother is from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And like everybody's looking at her. Like, and she told me like in Trinidad actually has horrible drug laws. Laws. I mean, if you get caught with one joint, you could get up to 1 year in prison. If you get caught with a seed, which seeds in Sweden are...
They're legal.
They're legal.
Yeah.
There, that meant you were going to cultivate. So now you're a big drug lord. You could get up to 5 to 10 years in prison.
That's insane.
Yeah, that was really... So seeds was like... It's like... I was like, what? And the drug laws in Jamaica used to be very hard as well.
Yeah. But now they have legalized in Jamaica.
Oh, they have.
Yeah,
okay.
they have. They are part of actually part of this big revolution in Canada and the US. A lot of these big marijuana companies have set up office in Jamaica for cultivation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think India always had marijuana was always legal.
Yeah, it's always been deemed holy, but I don't think it's legal in the actual context. But it's not something that the cops will
stop you from.
No, I don't think so. Because it's such a big part of the whole community.
Yeah, and I think in Russia, in some part in Russia or somewhere around there, they're like, you could have up to like 5 kilos of marijuana before they said, oh, you're trying to peddle it then. It's like...
Shitty weed in Russia, you probably need 5 kilos maybe.
No, but it was for like your own use.
But
because it's a rural communities, they live way out in the steppes there, so they like, oh no, you know.
Yeah, cannabis has always been part of the Chinese medicine since thousands of years.
But in China, is it legal? I don't think so.
I don't think it's legal because I don't think they like people being high on whatever. A little bit like Sweden.
Yeah.
In Sweden, you find if you go out in the forest and you eat the wrong kind of mushroom, you can be sentenced to jail.
Yeah.
And that's pretty weird.
That's very weird.
So you better know what kind of mushrooms you eat because it might...
If you die from it, that's not a problem. Nobody will charge you of anything. But if you get high, oh my God, we're going to throw the book at you.
No, because we have a law on that if, people say you can actually get high on apple seeds, you can actually be sentenced to for a crime. Because the law says that if you have something that alters your mind, you are doing a crime. And that's pretty interesting. That you are not allowed to alter your mind.
Yeah, but then alcohol should be legal.
Yeah, but alcohol, it's always been here and no.
Oh, well, is that true? No?
It's true.
Alcohol has not always been here.
No, actually, they have found, when they have excavate. Do you call it excavate?
Yeah.
Viking graves. They have found marijuana seeds and magic mushrooms in the graves. So
yeah, I think those are the first 2 drugs. Terence McKenna had this. Had this idea that when you started doing mead, that was because you put the mushrooms in honey to conserve them. And then that is how we found out how to make mead. Slowly but surely.
That must have been some pretty interesting mead in the beginning.
Oh God!
Magic mushroom mead.
But mead is horrible to drink.
You don't like it?
It's nice in the beginning, but the day after is.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, I never gotten really drunk on it. I just tasted it.
I really got drunk on it,
Yeah.
and I mean your head is exploding. It's like
wow.
I don't know. Sorry, why that is, but it's something really doesn't
but
agree
it's
to the
a lot of
system.
sugar in it, and if you eat a lot of sugar, you can get headaches and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's liquid sugar, so
Yeah.
probably worse.
I think that in Sweden too, we just for the last thing about Sweden is that we have one of the highest prescription rates of SSRI preparates and pills. So there seems to be a big need in Sweden to escape in one way or to deal with anxiety, but you have to do it by the book then. So
alcohol, tobacco, or caffeine.
Yeah.
Or prescription drugs.
No, prescription drugs are very, very high in Sweden.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of darkness here.
Yeah.
So, okay, you have that. And, I guess it's... it have to be the culture. I mean, when you have these pressures on you that is not from you, then you tend to want to break out.
True.
So, and what we can see in the Western world, there's a lot of pressures to be someone. I mean, if you not perceive yourself, or if your environment around you doesn't perceive you as successful, then that will be very, very stressful for you.
Yeah.
Especially if you're male.
Yeah.
Can't support your family or not good enough in the world, then that is a horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that's why a lot of, especially middle-aged, older males drink a lot.
Yeah. And they are the highest suicide rates. I think it's males around 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
We're almost dead. So this might be our last episode, so please listen.
No, don't worry. We're going to find some drugs that makes us happy.
Yeah.
It's more coffee.
More coffee, yeah.
No, but when someone talks about drugs, it's hard not to talk about books like Doors of Perceptions and Brave New World.
Yeah.
And I think that the Brave New World is getting kind of close.
Yeah, well...
Pills are taking over in the illegal scene, but also in the prescription scene. And we're talking about how the high-tech companies, it's not something to be frowned upon that you microdose LSD or mushrooms to elevate your mood and get your ideas and juices flowing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so like the technological companies, if you have more brain connections, you probably come up with fun stuff. So for them it works in a certain at a degree then. But if you work as a driver or something else, it doesn't really work because you're doing job that doesn't require you to be creative.
No.
And if you're doing that, it doesn't work.
It could actually be dangerous to be a creative driver.
You have
to follow the rules.
Although, pilots, especially fighter pilots, take amphetamines to do all these long hauls.
Yeah, amphetamine is probably the most warlike drug ever.
Yeah, invented by who?
Ever since it was invented, in a pill form, it's been used in war. I think it started in the First World War.
I'm not sure. I know that the Nazis did the methamphetamine, Pervitin.
Yeah. And
that was a big thing.
I think the Pervitin was before. Wasn't it before?
Maybe it's before.
I have seen old pharmaceutical bottles from Sweden with Pervitin from 1930s.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was invented before the Nazis, but I know that the German army used it wholesale on their.
A lot
of them were on it.
And the big bad guy himself, Hitler, was an avid amphetamine user, which you can see in some clips where he can't sit still on the Olympics, I think. There's this incredibly funny clip where he sits and jumps up and down on his chair like a little child, and you can see his arms are twitching and everything, and you can see that's a guy who taking way too much.
Yeah, and I know that in the beginning of the war, the English took some prisoners or some dead bodies, and they found the tablets, and they gave it to some British soldiers because they said, like, how can they move so fast? They don't seem to rest. And they tested it on the British soldiers, and they said, like, okay, yes, they can stay up like a couple of days, but they get very violent. And like numb to feelings. So, but in a war setting, that is quite good. But you have to think about after the war, when you have like a couple of million people who are addicted to this drug. That can't be that fun.
No, it can't be that fun. And as long as you are high on it, I guess that the anxiety of what you have done is going to be pushed back. But then you are cold turkey after the war, and everything comes back to you. It must be horrible.
That and what it does to the body to be on a certain drug like every day for a couple of years, and then I mean, because it really burns your body into
methamphetamine seems to be a very sinister drug. If you look into, you have this before and after pictures of people who have been doing meth for a while. It goes fast. Thieves, everything, and it looks like they're aging like 20 years in just a couple of months, basically.
But they're smoking, and maybe the amphetamine that the German army used was a little bit not that strong, but I know that they used heroin comes from World War One. They were giving it to the English soldiers, and it was heroin. If you got wounded, you could take some, and you would become a hero. So you could fight on without an arm or a leg or whatever. You didn't feel anything. You could take a lot of bullets. I mean, drugs have been a part of our lives for so long. And most of it was legal. Up to fairly recent.
Absolutely. I think the most drugs got illegal in the 60s, basically. Cannabis was illegal, I believe, in 1930s or something in the US. I think that after when they lifted the ban on alcohol, they needed something new to.
No, I heard that one of these like big conglomerates guy, Rockefeller or someone. Not maybe this is.
I think it was the DuPont.
No. I think it was Rockefeller. Someone who owned a lot of like newspapers, and he also owned a lot of wood or forest. So he could chop down the wood and sell it to make newspapers or something like that. And they found out that you can make newspaper out of marijuana.
Of hemp.
Hemp. And he said, like, no. We have to destroy this industry. So they banned hemp or the marijuana seed, and then hemp was kind of thrown under the bus.
I think you're talking about two different things here, actually, because the hemp ban was, hemp was a material that was widely explored in the 1930s, and Henry Ford built a T-Ford out of hemp that was pretty much indestructible. There are videos with him standing with a big sledgehammer trying to make a dent in it, and it just doesn't happen. And they also found that you could make plastics with hemp. And I know that the DuPont, that's why I said DuPont was very against it, because you could make tires out of hemp instead of oil. And so it was very big economic interest that banned hemp. But I think when it comes to cannabis, as you smoke it, like we say, marijuana, the name marijuana is is a slang for it that came in when they were targeting Mexicans, especially in the US. They wanted a way to control them. And also marijuana was big among the jazz crowd. And you had this black artist that was gaining popularity, and they were gaining recognition, and they were looked upon on the rest of the world as amazing musicians. And they needed a way to,
close it down.
Pin them down as much as they could. So marijuana was the thing. Louis Armstrong was a big, heavy marijuana user.
Okay.
He loved it. And there is this picture in when he was in Stockholm once again, and he looks so depressed. And I heard a guy who took this picture. I asked him around why does he look so depressed? Because he couldn't score any weed in Stockholm. So he was so depressed.
They probably didn't know what it was.
No, probably because this was like in this early 60s, I think, or something.
It's in the 60s. Okay.
50s or 60s.
Okay, then they knew. Yeah. And the whole like the revolution in the love revolution in the US in the 60s, that all of a sudden just broke with norm of the society. I mean, that must have been terrifying.
And then you could buy LSD, in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
So so they banned that because they couldn't control the masses for a reason. And we have this other revolution. We were mentioning it in the beginning. The rave, when the rave scene came, when people don't understand how big and how strong and what impact that had in the 90s. It was profound. You could actually see how these big, scary, racist skinhead gangs in England, they traded in their bomber jackets and their blue jeans for, batik t-shirts and popping Molly.
Wow! Yeah,
and left all this bullshit behind.
Wow! Yeah, because I mean, if you take both LSD, I don't have the privilege of taking it yet. But if you take LSD or something, it changes your mind, the way you look at the world and yourself. Probably most yourself, and
I think also ecstasy was the big thing that you get ecstasy, this big wave of loving everything. Did some good on these guys, I think. And
society couldn't allow that.
No, it couldn't allow that.
We can't allow you to. We need you to be compartmentalized.
We want you to be conformative and don't,
Doesn't matter if it's bad. Yes, it's something. You can't be going around loving people. That's horrible. I mean, come on. You have to throw in some hate there, and not against the state, because then we're really going to punish
you. Need some whiskey here. Have a few shots, you get aggressive again.
Because the whole thing is like you more really mind-altering drugs you do, you kind of start disagreeing with what the state machine is saying, telling you.
And that is why it's probably frowned upon so much from politicians.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of go like, really? Should we be doing this? Or should I really be working here?
Because they used to say how dangerous cannabis was, and now we have all the scientific facts that show it's not dangerous. It's actually one of the safest drugs you can do. But now it goes, you get lazy when you do cannabis, and you're not going to contribute to the society and stuff like that. And sure, people definitely get lazy by cannabis. There are definitely people who get lazy. But I think these people are probably just lazy.
I saw I don't know. I saw a very funny cartoon, and it said, what's your dream job? And the guy answers, why would I dream of work? So, I mean, if you work somewhere and it's just work, you're probably lazy. Most definitely. You should be. If you're not,
you're probably going to get depressed doing something you hate for 8
You don't even have to hate it. If you just do it to put food on your table, and that's it.
But you can have a job like that, but it gives you something. You have fun
with your colleagues.
Fun with the colleagues, or
that's a different thing.
Something that is
you would have had fun with them if you were on the street drinking or smoking or doing whatever. But the work in itself, if it's when you're doing it, if it's like meaningless to you, like I could do something else any day. If I just get better pay somewhere else, I'll jump there.
Yeah.
So you're more or less just a prostitute that goes from work to work to work. But if you find out what you really want to do, like really, that's not work.
No.
That's your like purpose in life,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
purpose at that point in life. That's a different story. Then you could do that for like, as long as I get enough money to just survive, you would still do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you would love doing it.
Yeah.
That's why people like who are fixing shoes, they're not changing their, like shoemakers.
Yeah.
They're not changing jobs. Why? They love what they're doing.
Yeah.
Might not make money, might not never drive a BMW,
No.
but they love what they're doing. And then we have people who are stockbrokers, and they do a lot of coke and horse and whatever to just get by the day,
But they love money most of the time.
Yeah.
They kind of like to be in that setting because they gain personal gains by it too, maybe.
Yeah, but they're empty inside, so you have to like fill it up with shit.
Yeah, but it's almost like in the stockbroking world, that's almost like something that is looked upon, that you are empty inside, that you're almost all fatalistic. That's almost seen as something good.
Yeah, of course.
And I know that when Bret Easton Ellis wrote American Psycho, he has said that it came after that book came out. A lot of guys have come up to him and said, "Thank you. When I read your book, I decided to become a stockbroker, and I'm doing great."
Pretty
Weird, eh? If you have read the book, that's a pretty weird thing. If you're the writer about a serial killer who works as a stockbroker, and you get these people, well, I just want to thank you for writing this book because this made me become a stockbroker.
Yeah, well, if you have problems with your feelings and don't know what to do with it and don't know what to do with your life, and you're like, oh, I would love to work somewhere where feelings has nothing to do with it, and I can act as shitty as I possibly can without any bad consequence, and I make a lot of money. Yeah, that's appealing.
Yeah.
That's very appealing.
That's true.
If you have that personality, like I don't give a shit about anyone else but me, and I want everything. Go fuck yourself. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
That's your job. Take it.
But if you look back in history, like a couple of thousand years back, and we see all these religions and all this culture emerging, we can also see that there has been drugs alongside.
Many drugs.
Yeah.
And I mean, in India you have the soma. The recipe is marijuana or hash and ephedrine and opium. Apparently, it seems to be that recipe.
And how did it impact culture?
Enormous. Most of the Vedic text is dedicated to the drink soma, the drink that the gods drank. So it's like but they had this Elysium mysteries, and they also had a drink, and it's probably soma as well. And all the Egyptian, everybody had their drug of choice.
Yeah.
The Nordic had the mushrooms, and the Indians had the ayahuasca and the snuff, and they had all mushrooms again. Mushrooms. Yeah. Mushrooms is the most prevalent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably why we have shamanists from the start, that we had access to magic mushrooms, even in the Siberian tundra.
Exactly. I mean, it grows on every continent.
Yeah.
On every continent. Although they relatively recently, found that it did actually grow in Africa, because Africa is quite quiet when it comes to hallucinogenic drugs. You have the ibogaine, but that is recent. That is from the 1850s or onwards. It's very recent.
And that has been used today to treat heroin addiction.
Yeah, a lot of addiction. But it's illegal in Sweden, of course.
Of course.
Because you can't use a drug to cure another drug. Yeah. Well, we do have not cure. We have the
Subutex and stuff like that.
To keep heroin addicts in check.
Yeah, it kills heroin addicts.
Like crazy. Yeah. And if you get hooked on it, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Because if you're hooked, there's nothing that you can take to, because that's the cure for heroin addicts. So if you get hooked on the cure, then no one can help you.
And it was one of the most scary things recently was I think it's still going on, the big opiate crisis in the US.
Oh, that is...
It's scary to see some of this, if you go into YouTube and OxyContin, you write it in and you see people who works on 7-Eleven that's behind the register falling asleep while they're punching in the groceries. Yeah,
I mean, and that, they sued the company.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to get some money from it. Yeah. But I mean, it's...
The damage is done for a long time.
Yeah.
So many people. We're talking about millions and millions of people in the US that are hooked.
Yeah. But the funny part is when the crack epidemic hit, they all blamed black people. Because there was a lot of black people on crack.
Yeah.
But now with... And they didn't really give a fuck because it was a kind of a black problem.
Yeah.
But with these opioids, I mean, that has been primarily a white problem people.
Yeah.
And it was still quiet.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot of poor people that was hooked on this because it was like I had pain, I can't afford the surgery, so you get this pill instead.
Yeah, and they were prescribing pills like there was some doctor's office that prescribed like 10,000 doses. It's like the community holds like 2,000. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so they saw it was a way to get people hooked on it, so they could sell more of it.
Yeah.
So it's probably both. Like those who own the company saw we are selling way too much than we should. But we're kind of making money, so fuck it. But and the lower downs all get commission from selling it from the drug company. So everybody, it's capitalism on not opioids, but on steroids.
Yeah.
Everybody benefited.
Yeah, that's one of the most powerful drugs we have. It's money.
It's
a big drug.
Yeah, money and
ideas.
It
really alters your reality in all kind of ways.
Yeah.
And the withdrawal symptoms are horrible.
Yeah.
Definitely. It can be looked at as a drug, I think.
Yeah, it is a drug.
Society.
I mean, if you don't have it, your life gets really shitty quick.
Yeah.
And if you did have it, a lot of it, and it's withdrawn from you, oh my God, you throw yourself up the window any minute from now. It's like people, and they do anything for it. I mean, that is a drug.
Yeah, in a way, And it actually alters the mood.
It
does that too. Like drugs should do. Drugs should alter your mood in different ways, and money has that ability.
Yeah, they said if the sex is not, if the sex is not working, I think it's 50% of the relationship what people talk about.
Yeah.
If it's working, it's 10%. But if you don't have enough money, I think it's like 90% of what couples fight about.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the money thing is so related to you being successful or you being, anyone. Anywhere. I mean, and it really, and horribly rich people or very rich people tend to be horrible person.
I don't know. They seem to be very, very nice and lovely and always having a smile because they don't have a worry in their life.
Well, yes and no, I would say. I think people who are used to money act differently than people who
suddenly gets a lot of money.
Absolutely. Or worked and 10 years in they have a lot of money. They tend to think that they're better than everybody
and you
else.
have that too with some drugs. You want to withdraw from others because you want to, I want to be on this level now, and you're not on that level. That's the same with money. So money is kind of drug.
It's a big drug, and ideas are a big drug. People need to latch on to other ideas. We have problem thinking out ideas for ourselves. Just thinking, we have problem with thinking. Alter our perception, alter our minds. Mind bending, brain bending.
You see.
We have problem with that, and I think we don't need any drugs.
I think we do.
I think we don't.
I think there is a reason why we have been doing drugs since
yes.
the dawn of man, because that is something that our brains are triggered for, and there are scientific evidence for it, because when they were doing this big research like 20 years ago to show the harmful effects of cannabis, they found that we have receptors in our brain that are designed to interact with cannabinoids.
If you don't have any receptors for it, you can't get high. If the brain can't receive it, you can't get high.
But not all drugs have specific receptors in the brain.
Yeah, I think they do. Like, if your body, if your brain can't process it, you can't. If your body can't.
This was like when you have the molecules. When you're inhaling, you have receptors in your brain that are designed to really
to latch on
to them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's with all drugs.
So they are called actually cannabinoid receptors.
But that's the same for nicotine, for heroin, and most of them are similar. Like heroin and nicotine are close. Beer and marijuana are close. They're like cousins in the way the molecule is shaped. So they're all similar to each other.
And also the cannabis plant and the hops plant.
Exactly.
Close.
DMT, we produce it. So of course you can use DMT. And it's the same with psilocybin. We have receptors for it. Because if you don't, you can't get high. You could get high of milk if you had that receptor that would milk. And then you're drunk as hell. But if you don't, you won't get high. So yes, but I don't think we need it. We're using it for reasons that might seem necessary, but that is more for because we're not imaginative enough. I think we're not free enough to let our brains go. And if you produce DMT, if you have the receptors for marijuana, couldn't you produce it in your body if you know what you were doing?
You can actually produce cannabinoids. That's what happens when you run. You have this runner's high. That is your body producing cannabinoids.
And there you go. So we're trying to make things illegal that your body is perfectly fine with. In certain doses, of course. But you can get high of water and then die.
You can actually die by drinking water.
Absolutely. Too much water. So everything is kind of a drug, in a way. Kind of. Or no, no.
I think that the I don't know how this is different from country to country. What is to be regarded as a drug. In Sweden, it's anything that alters your mind. It doesn't matter if you get hooked on it or not. It doesn't matter if it's alter your mind. It is a drug, and then it might be illegal.
Well, TV can alter my mind, or a speech can alter my mind. There's a lot of things that can alter your mind.
Things that you can inhale, eat, or drink.
Well, then you have alcohol, sugar, nicotine.
Talking about why are we allowing alcohol but not, for example, cannabis? Why? And there is no real good answer on it. And they say, well, we have alcohol and that's a very bad. Why should we have another bad thing? Because maybe I want to have something that is less bad for me, but gives me that same recreational.
And that's freedom of choice. We live in a democracy.
You're not allowed.
But you cannot choose if we're not putting on the table that you can choose. So, but the thing also, as when America just decriminalized marijuana, you kind of go, why? Is it because they found out that marijuana wasn't bad? It's been bad for what? 70, 80 years, 90 years or something like that. And all of a sudden they're like, oh no, it's not bad anymore. You kind of go like, no, you knew that for at least the last 50 years. You knew that. So why are you doing it now?
Because the war on drugs, the drugs won.
There's still a war on drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't illegally...
It was such a big market, so it was stupid on so many levels to have that illegal. And especially when they saw the rise of the Mexican cartels, how fast and how much money they were making and how powerful they became, they said, oh shit, this is getting very, very dangerous. And we can see that in Sweden. Sweden is a country that has, always been regarded as a safe country. There's no corruption. And now people are realizing, oh, these gangs, these youth gangs that has been peddling cannabis, they are actually in a market for 3 billion Swedish kronas just for cannabis. Wow. And they are starting to have impacts in politics and in every level of our society, because they have such incredible amount of money to their disposal.
Well, okay. So tax revenues.
Yeah, they're gone. We don't get any tax revenues from cannabis.
Exactly. So is that one of the reasons why the Americans did it? Tax revenues.
Probably.
And if you legalize it, then sure, you don't. There's a lot of drugs that are still illegal. So there's still going to be a lot of gangs selling those illegal drugs. But tax revenues the tax revenues from the state of Arizona, one of the first who legalized it. Yeah. They're because nobody lives there. There's no companies and the tax revenue went through the roof. Yeah. They are rich, So tax revenues is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting because in not only in Sweden but in all the Nordic countries, we have always been, a region where people drink a lot. Yeah. And the last 10 years they have seen this decline in alcohol, especially among young people, because they prefer something else. Because in the age of social media, it's very hard to get drunk and to make a fool of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably a nicer way to get high with your friends, laugh a little bit and stuff yourself with candy at the end of the
play video games and smoke. Yeah, exactly. And then you're not hungover the day after. No. You didn't do so many stupid things, and there's a lot of benefits from it. And you don't get violent.
No, most people don't get violent. Of course, there are people who are because they can't handle a different perception of reality. But these people are also very dangerous drunk. And there is no drug that has caused as many psychosis as alcohol.
And killings. And accidental killings. And alcohol is a horrible drug. In many regards.
But the worst drug, kids, it's nicotine. It's not even fun.
It's not even fun.
Nothing happens. You smoke that cigarette and it tastes like shit, but you keep on smoking it, and all of a sudden you think, oh, I need that cigarette now.
And that's the power of nicotine. Because it keeps up this persona, and they propagate that persona. That outsider, that cool kid, that da. And you see it in movies, and you see it everywhere, and it keeps up the persona.
But in reality, it's a middle-aged old woman standing on her balcony,
smoking
in the rain, smoking all by herself,
getting
because she has
lung diseases, and dying of COVID because she was smoking. It's horrible, and you smell bad, and you can't taste and smell things.
Tobacco has good qualities too, in a way.
The clean tobacco does. The Mapuche tobacco or the Nicotina rustica. It's in snuff, Swedish snuff. It's 9 times more nicotine than cigarettes. 9 times. That's a lot. It's very strong to smoke. So you kind of do 1 or 2 or 3 hits and then you're done. and you will not smoke like 10 cigarettes a day.
No.
You can't achieve that. You will just feel really, really sick. And that's why the Indians, the Native Americans in South and Northern America never got lung cancer.
No.
Because they even though they smoked it every day, they can't get that amount. That's why they kind of turn it down to the Virginia tobacco, because it's not that hard on you. It's not that addictive, but still it is, and you get some of the benefits. But and they put tons of shit in it.
Yeah.
Now it's even flame retardant chemicals in it, so that can't be good. No. But hey, you read the warning on the pack.
Exactly.
You know. So I mean, and then there's so much.
But it has always been regarded before we turn it into cigarettes.
Yeah.
It has been regarded as a way to have a moment by yourself and reflect on life and connect with, if you go back to the Native Americans, to the spiritual ancestors.
Yeah.
And then it became this thing you just do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go around smoking, ride a motorbike smoking, have sex afterwards, take a cigarette, and it was like you should always smoke.
Yeah.
If you look at the 40s and the 50s, it was like smoking was something you just did.
Yeah, doctors did it.
Yeah.
And
advertising with doctors saying, well, you should smoke this brand because it's good for your throat.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, kudos to Nazi Germany. Okay, I don't like Nazis, but kudos, they did one of the first big smoking, and they said this is not good. This is very bad, because Hitler was kind of against smoking.
He was against a lot of things.
Yeah, drinking, smoking.
Yeah. Meat.
Not having sex with your cousins, or marrying them.
He did.
or having any problem by killing 6 million Jews,
and
other.
But
people.
meat, red meat, all kind of meat. He was a vegetarian, so.
A vegan or vegetarian?
Yeah.
Did he
eat
fish?
Vegetarian. No, I didn't. I don't think vegetarians eat fish.
No, they shouldn't.
No, but some vegetarians say they are vegetarians, but they eat fish, but then they are not vegetarians.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the hill I will die upon.
Yeah, but
if you eat fish, you are not a vegetarian.
Okay, but wasn't he then a vegan? Because if you don't eat fish,
I think he ate a lot of cream on all his.
Yeah. Vegans doesn't eat anything.
Hitler was supposedly addicted to cookies and apple strudel and everything.
Yeah.
And there is this amazing book by a Swedish author, I don't remember his name now, about Hitler, and it focuses on Hitler as a person, not so much about his
policies
and as a military and everything like that, just the person. And it says that the last days in the bunker he was laying on his bed and he was stuffing cookies like it was peanuts, just stuffing them in, and he was always worried about his bosom, because it got so big by all his cookies and he got fat by it. So they were because this was the father figure for the cleanest and the most amazing race on earth, and he was this guy that was just getting blubbier and blubbier by all the cookies.
I mean, well, if I was Hitler in the last day in the bunker, I would eat cookies too.
Yeah, what should he do?
Yeah,
everything he did didn't work out.
Yeah.
He tried to be an artist, didn't work out. He tried to conquer the world, didn't work out. He tried to kill all the Jews, didn't work out.
Yeah, tried to kill all the Russians, didn't work out. Wow,
what a loser.
Yeah,
but a guy who loves cookies.
Yeah, and dogs.
All right. I think we need to stop here because the drugs are starting to kick in. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we haven't done any drugs.
No.
This is Sweden after all.
Yeah, not any illegal drugs.
No, not illegal.
Yeah.
Till next week. Take care.
Take care. Bye.